Welcome to another episode of The Latest with Maya. Today, I am very excited to have a conversation with best-selling author, screenwriter, and comic book writer Brad Meltzer. Thank you so much for being on my show. I'm so excited to be talking with you.
I'm excited to be here. You're in no way. I'm the excited one now.
Um, so let's get started. So if you had to pick any character in a book, movie, or TV show who is most similar to you, who would you choose and why?
Ooh, that's a good. Okay, so I think most people usually will pick some famous movie or TV show, but I'm gonna pick characters in my own books because I write them.
Yeah.
And when I first started writing, I think now I make characters more. But when you write your first book, you don't know what you're doing. So all you got is your instinct. You don't know how to do it yet. You're just like, let's see if this is going to work. And so that first character, Ben Addison in The 10th Justice, which was my very first book that ever got published, that character was me. And he was smart like me and dumb like me. And he was driven like I was driven when I was 27 years old. And he was, sometimes a little thick in the head as I was when I was 27 years old. So I didn't plan the character. I just kept asking myself, what would I do next? And then if you read that book, you will see me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So which author do you consider to be the gold standard when it comes to storytelling?
My favorite author is this guy, Brad Meltzer. He's just so spectacular. Sometimes I read his work and I just go, "Oh, Brad, you've done it again." And so it's hard when you're an author. I mean, my real answer is I think Alan Moore is who wrote Watchmen, and who wrote some of my other favorite books out there. But Watchmen is my favorite book of all time, a great graphic novel. And Alan Moore taught me when I read him that the best stories are not stories that are about plot or they're even about character. The stories you love most, the movies you like most, the books you like most are not even about those characters. What you love most about them is they say something about you. They tell you more about who you are and who you can be. And they say something about you and your experiences on this planet. And that's what makes a great story. And he's the one who I look up to probably more than any other when it comes to storytelling.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. So do you have a specific writing process or any pre-writing rituals?
I do. I do because I'm crazy. Um, so I'm going to tell you a story now. Um, so when my first book that I ever wrote got 24 rejection letters. There were only 20 publishers at the time, and I got 24 rejection letters, which meant some people were writing me twice to make sure I got the point. But I was like, if they don't like that book, I'm writing another. And if they don't like that book, I'm going to write another. And here's the story is that and the next week, I started what became The 10th Justice, my first published book. And then I started writing. So my second book that I started writing was actually the first book that ever got published. The first book never got published. It just was a failure. But every day that I sit down to write, this is the part of the story I left out is right before I got my 23rd and 24th rejection letter, number 23 and 24 we thought were going to be sales. Those were the two people. We got 22 rejection letters, and then 23 and 24 said, we actually like this book. We want to meet Brad. He's a new guy. He's never been published before. We'd love to have a meeting with him because we really like his work. And I went to New York City. I met with both editors. I had an incredible day. My agent, Jill Neera, may she rest in peace. She just passed away last year. But she said to me at the time, I think we're going to have a bidding situation, and they really liked your book. I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. And I had college debt to pay off, law school debt to pay off. I was like, this is going to be my chance to get out of debt. And she said to me, go wait by your phone. I'm going to go wait by your phone, and I'm going to call you when we have the offers. And this is pre-cell phone, so at a certain time, I waited by my phone. The phone rang. I picked it up. I was all excited for her to tell me how number 23 and 24 were going to buy my book and get me out of debt, and I was going to have a career as a writer. And I was so excited to hear my life was going to change. And the phone rang, and I picked it up, and she said to me, "Sorry, kiddo." And my heart sank. And I knew that those were now rejection letters, not offers, but rejection letters 23 and 24. And I tell you that, Maya, because this is my ritual. Every day that I sit down to write, I replay that moment in my head. I picture the kind of phone I was holding, which was clear and see-through, and you could see the wires in it, because back then that was high tech at the time. I picture that there's a desk, a Formica desk, with one of those swivel lamps that every college kid has on their desk back then. I picture on my right, there's a bed, and there was just a box spring and a mattress. We didn't have a big headboard or anything fancy. I look out over this, when she says it to me, I look out over this balcony, and over the balcony, I can see this concrete parking lot, and then a fire station with 3 doors. And I count the doors, 1, 2, 3 in my head. And I say those words to myself, "Sorry, kiddo." And every day for 25 years now, before I sit down to write, I think it's been almost 25 years, I replay all of it in my head. "Sorry, kiddo. Sorry, kiddo. Sorry, kiddo." Every day for almost 25 years, I've been replaying that moment, because I never want to think I made it. I always want to remember how lucky I am to have this job that I have. I always want to appreciate that I enjoy this thing that I get to do every day. And I never, ever want to be spoiled by it. And to this day, it's my favorite little ritual that I go through. But sorry, kiddo, sorry, kiddo, sorry, kiddo.
Wow. Yeah. So where do you get the inspiration for your books?
You know, you ever see the movie Up?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how Russell says adventure is out there?
Yeah.
Inspiration is out there. I believe that. I think good ideas are everywhere. They're everywhere. I see them every. I don't. Sometimes I hunt for them, and I can go to the National Archives and do research. But you see them in people who you meet. You see them in stories in the newspaper or online or whatever. I'm trying to think. The last time I held a newspaper was probably so long ago. But there's just good stories everywhere. And when I see someone who has no chin and looks a little bit like a turtle, I'm like, oh, that person's going in a book. Or I see something, and I met someone recently who just had a voice that was like commanding, and the moment you spoke to her, you knew that when she spoke, it was like giving an order. I'm like, oh, that's good character, that's for a book. So they're all out there. You just have to pay attention to them. I just think you got to keep your eyes open and slowly take them in.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Um, so who do you most admire, and how has that impacted the way you live your life?
And does this have to be in a professional sense, or just be anyone in life?
Yeah, just anyone.
I mean, if you ask me, like the famous person, I love Abraham Lincoln. He's my favorite president. I love Jim Henson and Mr. Rogers. They taught me when I was 5 years old that I could use my creativity to put good into this world. That's who I learned it from, is Mr. Rogers and from the Muppets and Sesame Street. Um, I love, the lessons like Anne Frank, who has, believes in the kindness and the hope of people. I like that idea. It's a naive idea, but it's a beautiful idea, and it's an idea worth fighting for.
Yeah.
I brought with me the newest book, I Am Jesse Owens. I love Jesse Owens. I love what he does, standing up to Adolf Hitler right in the middle of Germany. It's an incredible moment in history. But if you ask me my favorite, the person who has the impact on me, I think it's my grandfather, Ben, who, when I was little, used to tell me stories. He used to tell me stories about Batman, because he knew I love Batman stories. And he would tell me the same story over and over. He would say, Batman and Robin are in the Batmobile, and they're racing along the side of an edge of a cliff, and they see this white van in front of them. And in this white van is the Joker, the Penguin, the Riddler, and Catwoman. And then they catch him. And I would say, tell it again. Say, Batman and Robin are in the Batmobile. And he would tell me this story. The story didn't have like 50 words in it, but he told it to me over and over and over because he knew I loved the story. And he just was just being kind to me because he knew that it was something I was passionate about. So I hope, and you know what he did? I remember once he took our old toys, and we didn't have a lot of money growing up, but he took our old toys that we didn't want anymore, weren't playing with, and then he went out on his stoop in his neighborhood, and he said to all the local kids, if you want any of the toys, you can have them for free. And I remember this kid, I'll never forget, curly hair, came by, who was his next door neighbor, and took my old toys and was like, oh my gosh, because this kid had nothing. Like we maybe didn't have as much as we wanted, like we thought you would have by today's standards, but we were always happy. We didn't know anything about it. We were happy, but this kid was thrilled. And remember watching this kid playing with my old discarded toys and being like, I thought that was the nicest thing I'd ever seen anyone do, is just give something away for no good reason, even when he didn't have that much. And that was a big impact on me. That's to me how I hope on my best days, I get to live my life.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Um, yeah. So, what book from your childhood left a lasting impact?
So there's so many. That's the thing when you're right. I love Grover's The Monster at the End of This Book. I love Dr. Seuss Fox and Socks. I love Judy Blume because Judy Blume was my favorite, like probably my favorite first author of all time. But the impact probably that was deeper and bigger in a weird way was Agatha Christie. Because I remember reading one of the Agatha Christie books, and in one of those first chapters, A Murder at the Vicarage, it was called. And I don't know what a vicarage is. I still don't know what it is. I don't even want to know what it was. But I knew one thing, is that in one of those early chapters, I turned the page and there was a dead body. And then the detective asked the most important question that I've been asking myself for all those years since: who done it? And that book changed my life. I just remember reading that and going like, what's this? And that's been kind of within me since. And then comic books, of course. I mean, Alan Moore and Superman and Batman and Spider-Man, those characters taught me more about how to be a good person than probably most human beings.
Wow. I love that. Yeah. Um, so what do you wish people better understood about you?
Mm, I don't know. That's a good question. I actually think, I hope, the way you see me online or the way you see me in my books is, I hope, that's how you see me. I like how we get to put ourselves out there in the world. The one thing about being an author is I get to express myself for a living. I get to tell my stories, but in those stories, all I'm doing is revealing myself. I'm revealing my values. I'm revealing what I think is right, what I think is wrong. And obviously, in a mystery, I'm trying to fool you sometimes, and so you don't know exactly what I'm doing. But I do think, especially in speeches I give and talks that I do, what you're seeing is me, and I wouldn't change. There's nothing where I'm like, oh, I wish they thought I was smarter or funnier. Like how I am is how I am. If you've been laughing some point during this interview and hopefully been a little inspired here and there, that's all I can hope for. That's the me I am.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. So I am pop culture obsessed and go in stages of shows that I cannot stop watching. Is there a show that you are currently obsessed with?
Beside Xavier Riddle in the Secret Museum, our TV show, I love. Uh, so that's the cartoon show based on our book series, on our kids' book series. But my favorite, you know what I'm obsessed with? Oh, I know what I'm obsessed with because it came out today. They released The Bear early, and new season's out, and I'm excited for that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, my I've been meaning to go and watch it. I haven't seen it yet. My mom and my sister love that show.
I love that show. I think it's just so well written, especially there were 2 episodes last season that just knocked me out of my socks.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'll have to go and watch it because I keep meaning to. So,
Watch it, then tell me how I did. Tell me how my recommendations are.
okay, I will. Yeah. Um, yeah, I love finding a show to just binge watch over and over.
So, what's your favorite show right now?
Um, recently I've been rewatching Royal Pains. Um,
Never seen it. What is it?
that it's one of my all-time favorite shows. It recent just at the start of the new year came back on Netflix. It's about a doctor who moves to the Hamptons and starts a concierge um practice. And it's really good.
Oh, I want to see it. Okay, Royal Pains. That's what it's called.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, it's so good. You'll have to let me know what you think of that.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, so my family and I have actually, when we're all together, we've been rewatching that. And then
did you see Inside Out too?
not yet.
You have to see that. That I was just thinking of other things that just really just rocked me. That was great. You're gonna like that.
Yeah, I'm
I
so
loved it.
excited to see it. I love that. Yeah, I'm so excited to see that. I One of my favorite movies that I've seen this year so far is there's a new movie out called Ezra
I
that
haven't seen that either.
it was directed by Tony Goldwyn.
Oh yeah, I like Tony Goldwyn.
Yeah, and he stars in it, and or he has like a minor or a role in it, but it's so good. I watched it while because I did press for the movie, so I watched
Oh good.
yeah, while we were in LA, and yeah, afterwards I was just like staring at the screen, like that is one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. So
Great. Okay, I have to check it out. Ezra.
yeah, it's
Is
so
it in the theater still, or can I watch it on like streaming?
I I think it's still in the theaters.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's not on streaming yet.
Okay. Otherwise, you'd be watching. I could tell right now.
Yes, yes, definitely. Yeah, I'm just waiting so I can rewatch it again. Yeah. Um, so, what is something you have accomplished as an adult that your younger self would be proud of?
Hmm. I'm gonna go with the most recent thing that just um, when I was graduating college, I competed there was a competition to speak at graduation at the University of Michigan for the commencement. They had a student competition, and I thought I had a friend who was on the committee, and I was like, if I you submit your writing sample, and if you make it past the first round, then you actually present your writing sample. And I was like, well, I'm going to get past the first round, obviously. So once I present it, I'm obviously going to also win. And I didn't get past round one. It was terrible. It was just downhill the whole way. But I sat at my college graduation, and I sat there staring, not at the student speaker, but the main commencement speaker. I was like, one day I want to deliver that address. I want to deliver the commencement address at Michigan. And last month I got to do it. And it took me however many years to do it. But the most important part of why I love doing it is that my son was graduating, and I got to deliver the commencement address to my son in the audience. And it was one of my favorite things I've ever written. Just put in my name, put in Brad Meltzer, University of Michigan commencement address. that was the thing where I felt, and the whole speech is about the past versions of ourselves. We all have past versions of all of us. There's a past version of you before you started the show. There's a past version of me sitting in that stadium at 22 years old. These past versions of all of us, and then there are these current versions. And how do you get from one to the other? And sometimes it moves so quickly, and sometimes it moves so slowly. But they're all there, and that was the one thing that I feel like I did that my past self would have been like, how'd that happen?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Well, congratulations. That's
Thank you, Maya.
yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. Um, so what movie or show do you find yourself quoting more often than you'd like?
Oh, I like that more often than I'd like. You know what it is? It's, I mean, it's going to date me, but Grease.
Oh,
We quote a lot of Grease in this house. That was like our favorite movie ever. My wife and I both love the movie, but it's such a terrible message. It basically says like you should just change who you are to fit in with the cool kids. It's the exact opposite of everything that we're taught, everything that any of us
yeah,
should believe. But boy, do we think that was the coolest thing ever. And also, it's still, the songs are so good. I can't help myself, but we do wind up quoting that movie a lot.
yeah. Oh, cool. Love that. Um, yeah, so my final question for you is so I love inspiring and motivational quotes. And this week my favorite quotation is by Ed Sheeran. And it says, I can't tell you the key to success, but the key to failure is trying to please everyone. Is there a quotation that has inspired you lately?
Yeah, my favorite one is if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
I love that.
That's a powerful quote. I'm trying to think of who I know who said it, but it's escaping me on it in the moment. But that is not just a good quote. That is good life advice.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Yeah. Um, well, that was my final question for you. Thank
That's
you.
a good ending. I like that. You're finishing with good life advice for everyone out there.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for being on my show. I loved meeting you and talking with you, so thank you.
Thanks, Maya. Can't wait to see it out there, but more important, so nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
I appreciate it. Maya, I want you to think of this,
Yeah.
because there are so many people who watch you and they know who you are, but you're never going to know who they are. You can't possibly know them all, but you have a great, wonderful impact on their lives. And I hope you take a moment every once in a while to just stop and realize how many people you get to inspire. And again, you're never going to know their names. They'll know your name, but you're forever tied together. And I think that's the most beautiful part of what you do.
Oh, thank you so much.
You got it.
Means a lot. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and that's a wrap on today's edition of the latest with Maya.